Transform your aspiration into accomplishment. Initiate your UPSC CSE prep and establish a robust foundation with the GS Foundation Course 2025 at Vision IAS Delhi. Designed to unlock success, the course features comprehensive syllabus coverage with integrated coverage for GS Prelims, GS Mains, CSAT, and essay, regular practice and assessment, continuous assessment through daily assignments, weekly mini tests, and monthly revision tests paired with feedback by subject matter experts. And much more awaits your participation. Join the Vision IAS Delhi GS Foundation Course 2025. Batches starting 21st March, 5 p.m. 12th March, 9 a.m. The time is now. Seize this opportunity to excel. Spanning across India, the most awaited mock test series of the year is back. Vision IAS is proud to announce Abhyaas 2024, the essential All India Prelims, GS and CSAT mock test series for UPSC Prelims Examination 2024. First level in the 3-stage UPSC Civil Services Examination. Prelims signify the start of an aspirant's roadmap to becoming IAS. With test centers in 100+ cities, it is designed to help every aspirant analyze and improve objective thinking and reasoning skills for the examination. Key highlights include All India Ranking, Vision IAS Post-Test Analysis, attempted by every 1 in 3 selected candidates in the top 50. Complete coverage of UPSC Prelims syllabus, available in English Hindi. Live test discussion. Welcome everyone. Meet Arav, an aspiring UPSC candidate. His eyes are full of dreams, his room a reflection of his ambition with UPSC topper stories. Arav starts his journey and soon finding himself engulfed by mountains of books and endless notes as he grapples with the vast UPSC syllabus. Despite trying various revision methods, Arav's anxiety escalates each day. He feels lost in a sea of information, struggling for direction. In his moment of confusion, Arav discovers the Lakshya Prelims Mentoring Program 2024, a ray of hope in his challenging journey. He found that Lakshya program offers a strategic plan for revision and practice, which includes the entire GS and CSAT syllabus. It skillfully integrates monthly current affairs and PT 365 with the static GS syllabus for a comprehensive revision. CSAT, once a daunting task, is now approached with rigorous practice and focus, building confidence. Amazed by the personalized approach, Arav finds Lakshya's plan as per his unique needs, that is, by focusing on high-yielding areas, facilitating multiple revisions, providing effective and validated reading list for efficient preparation, and analyzing the evolving demand for UPSC Prelims paper with in-depth trend analysis of previous year questions, PYQs. With Lakshya's structured plan, Arav's approach to preparation evolves. The chaos of his study room now becomes a focused learning environment. Empowered and confident, Arav is now ready to conquer the UPSC Prelims. The once daunting task now appears within his reach. Interested in learning more or registering? Visit visionis.in/Lakshya or call us on these numbers. Start your successful journey with Vision IAS today.
Good evening, everybody. Am I audible? Okay, good. All right. Okay, how many of you are appearing this year in 2024 prelims? Oh, very nice of you to come. Take out time for this session. And how many of you are appearing next year? 25? Oh, majority of you. Okay, all right, good. So, for those of you who are appearing this year, I hope your preparation is on track. Is it? Is it? Good, very nice. And I hope you take something very important and relevant from this session, because your time currently is precious, and that you have taken out time for this session. That is quite a nice thing. So, shall we start? Have you ever attended any session on answer writing before this? No? Anybody? Any other session? No? All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So, look, there is a lot of talk about art and science of effective answer writing. What is a good answer? What is a bad answer? And how many of you honestly have attempted full papers, like 3 hours बैठ के पूरा paper दिया है? Have you attempted? No? Okay, okay. How many of you have actually written some answers? Majority of you have, right? Okay. और जिन्होंने हाथ नहीं रेज किया उन्होंने कभी आंसर नहीं लिखा, उन्होंने बोर्ड्स नहीं दिए 10th में 12th में, right? So at some point in your life you have definitely written some answers, right? You have given answers. If anybody is asking you right now, what am I doing? I'm asking you questions and I'm expecting some answers, okay? Either in the form of yes or no or something. So when a person is asking you a question, when someone is asking you a question, there is a reason why the person is asking a question. Can you tell me what is there in this image? What is happening here? What does this look like? It's a snippet from Mahabharata, right? And what is the story behind this clip? Teaching the bird? Teaching archery. Who is teaching archery here? Right. So a good answer is you have to complete, not like teaching archery. Okay, like proper sentence. Okay. So Guru Dronacharya here is teaching archery to his students. Okay, and he asks all of them a question that what do you see? What do you see in front of you? Right? And who gives the correct answer? Arjun. What does he say? The bird's eye, the eye of the bird. Okay. So he asked a general question and everybody answered. Somebody said, I can see leaves. Somebody said, I can see the tree. And finally, it was only Arjun who answered that I see the eye of the bird. That means every question that is being posed to you, every question in life, kabhi bhi, kahin bhi, there is an answer to it. There is an answer around which your answer should revolve. Okay. The examiner has a set keyword or a set key in his mind. Here, ye correct answer hai. And the closest you get to that key is how you score in UPSC. Okay. So what is the art of answering? Forget about answer writing. I don't want to talk about answer writing. Look, you all know too much about answer writing already, right? Now tell me, what is the art of answering? If I asked you a question, or let's say if Guru Dronacharya asked his students a question, simply what is the art of answering? How would you answer? You would think about the question, right? There are certain steps. First is you would listen to the question, right? You would listen to the question. Imagine yourself here in the place of Pandavas. If you were here and your teacher is asking you a question, you would first listen to the question very carefully. You would pause for a while and you would think about the question. You will repeat the question to yourself. And sometimes subconsciously your brain will think that why is this question being asked? What could be the possible right answer? ऐसा नहीं है कि he is simply asking you कि तुम्हें क्या दिख रहा है? What do you see? Right? The correct answer, you will think that what is the answer that Guru Dronacharya is expecting? There must be some right answer to it, right? That is what we have to do in this examination. So you identify the aim of the examiner, that why is this question being asked? This is one key factor in writing good answers. If you understand the aim of the examiner, you answer honestly, okay? You answer with good intentions, you answer honestly, right or wrong, baat ki baat hai, all right? And finally, you keep your answer brief. If Guru Dronacharya asked, Ki, what do you see? And let's say Yudhishthir went on and on. I see a tree, I see birds, I see sky, I see water, I see. If he went on and on, then it would have been a bad answer. Even if he had included I see the eye of the bird in that answer, wo comma mein bhi, that answer would have been a bad answer. Similarly in UPSC, your answers have to be absolutely brief. Your answers have to be to the point. This is a very, very important aspect of answer writing. Okay, so with this base, let's start. So you all know that the basic building blocks of answer writing are introduction, body, conclusion. ये तो सबको पता है. I'm assuming everybody knows. Is there anyone who's new to this concept? No, everybody knows that there is an introduction, there is a body, and then there is a conclusion. The introduction helps the examiner understand the scope of the response. That means the examiner tries to identify whether you have understood the question or not. What is the response like? Your introduction will determine whether the examiner will read further ahead or not. Okay? Then, of course, there is the main content, that is the body, and where the entire, all the marks, most of the marks lie here. Okay? And then there is the conclusion. We'll see each one of these aspects in detail. We'll see what are the different kinds of introductions, what are the different kinds of conclusions, how toppers have written their answers, how nicely they have presented them. And in addition to that, we will also compare the answer copies of two toppers vis-a-vis the same question. So we'll see how the same question can be attempted in different manner. All right? Okay. So before we start seeing what as a student we are supposed to do, let's get into the shoes of the examiner. Let's step into the minds of the examiner. Okay? So for one moment, please imagine yourself to be sitting in the UPSC building, which is the Jodhpur house, and think that you are evaluating the answer copy of two candidates. Shall we start? Okay. So the question is this. This is the question. The question says, with examples, discuss how the cultural traditions from various regions of India get reflected in regional music. You want to reread the question? Take a minute. Take a minute to reread the question. With examples, discuss how the cultural traditions from various regions of India get reflected in regional music. Do you have some answers, some points coming up in your mind? Naturally? Yeah? Okay, so now let's read one answer copy. This is one answer copy. This says, music as an art form has been practiced and performed in India since time immemorial. Nice introduction, good. Amir Khusro is considered to be the proponent for bringing Persian cultural music to India, thus beginning the reflection of music, culture in music, and aage example, he's written Khayal music. Okay. Then he says Carnatic music is performed in the southern states, often represents and performing with arts, so coupled with dances. So he says Carnatic music is done in the southern states, coupled with dances. Then he talks about Gundicha brothers. Talks about Gundicha brothers. They are proponents of Dhrupad music. Alright. Then he again talks about some international music, and then music and culture go hand in hand. Okay. So again he tries to elaborate how. Again he talks about Carnatic music is performed in the southern states using sitar, veena and classical music. For example, MS Subhalakshmi, which is also spiritual and devotional in nature. In northern states, then he talks about Birju Maharaj, Zakir Hussain. And this music represents, this is the conclusion, the culture and society and the people at the emotional level, or deeply, which tells about the society, which brings the society closer. That is about the how music is a part of the culture. Okay, this is the answer. Now, this is a 10-marker question. How many marks would you give? Now, you are an examiner here. How many marks would you give to the student? 5.5. We're liberal examiners, oh yaar. You guys are very liberal. 3, honestly. 5.5 is what toppers score in UPSC. You know that, right? Have you seen the marks of toppers? Like rank 1 to 10. They are scoring about 50, 60, 50 to 60, 55%, roughly that's the average. Okay, so is this, what is your score? I don't want to question you, but just give your score, that's all. 3, 4, 4.5, okay. Okay, fair enough, because he's given examples, he's talked about different aspects, and he has understood the question because he has, mixed up, he has included both elements of culture as well as music and how they blend together. So that has been covered. Now let's go on to the next answer copy. This is one answer copy, okay. This says, India's rich and diverse cultural traditions are most evident in the regional music of its motherland. Okay, fair enough. Again, there is a map in which Pahadi Geet, okay, you have shown in the Himalayan states. In the northern belt, you have shown Hindustani music. Then Shankar Dev's Bhavna, tribal music somewhere around Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh area. South में Karnataka music, Rajasthan में Meera Bhai's bhajan and all. So, okay, fine. Now, this is a diagram for regional music traditions. Okay. So, reflection of cultural traditions, how cultural traditions are reflected in music. So, Karnataka Triratna के बारे में बात किया है. So, for example, Tyagaraja, Muthuswami and Shyama Sastry, they have been mentioned. Then Persian influence on Hindustani music and its system of gharanas. There is Bhakti movement. So, Bhakti movement में Mirabai has been covered. There is tribal music. So, tribal music में daily activities and oneness with nature, for example, at sacred groves. There is Pahadi Geet in the Himalayan states that reflects their way of life. So, for example, in Chamoli district in Uttarakhand. And finally, concluding the same question with the recent proposal for museum for Carnatic music reflects their importance to break free from colonial mindset. This must be protected with. So, how you want to protect the current cultural traditions, music traditions of India? It should be included in school curriculum. It should be included in, NCC, NSS, and so on and so forth, and sponsoring programs by the government. So this is one answer, okay? Now give marks to this answer. 5. 3? Why 3? Everybody is giving 5? Huh? हाँ, some points are amiss, I agree. ऐसा तो है नहीं कि सब कुछ लिखा है. You can always, music is such a vast field, आप नाम लिखने जाओगे, there is no end to it, right? There is so much that can be written. But why would you give this a 5 and why most of you would give a 3, 3.5 to that answer? What is the difference? In my opinion, content is more or less same, more or less same. There is a diagram. The presentation is better here. The suggestions are also good, right? What is better? Handwriting is also better, fair enough, very good. It is legible, I agree, this is better, all right. Current news, so this person has linked with the current ongoing things. So, static and current. So, person has shown his or her knowledge in the newspaper domain that I have been reading the newspapers. Fulfilling the demand of the question. Absolutely, the beauty of this question is कि उसको segregation किया है. उसमें क्या है, पहले कर्नाटक आ रहा था, फिर 2 पैराग्राफ फिर बाद फिर कर्नाटक आ गया. It was not proper structuring of the answer was missing. And in this, the points, the number of points are more or less similar. If you think of it, which part of this don't you already know? We already know all of this. These are very simple points, aren't they? Hindustani music, Carnatic music, Mirabai, tribal music, kitna generic simple points hai, which sometimes becomes easy, not easy in the examination to recollect, but still they are there, right? But it's not something very technical or something very difficult, is it? But yet it has been structured in a proper manner. And my dear friends, this is the answer copy of rank 1 Ishita Kishore. This is Ishita Kishore's answer copy. And this is what you have to learn in art and science of answer writing. That it is not just the content, but also how you present your content, how you use your existing knowledge to show more on the paper. So, like, for example, this part, okay? She must have read about 1 or 2 schemes, or she must have read about something, okay? So, for example, she's talking about some museum for Carnatic music that has been recently inaugurated. So, she mentions about that. The problem with 80% of us is that we hesitate to write what we know. We think it is not the right answer. We think it will not fit in our answer. That's not true. You have to write what you know, given the fact that it is fitting in the answer, it is in the context in which the question is being asked. Random if you write, of course, you will be penalized for that in the examination. But other than that, if you know something and if you think it is very obvious, why should I write it? So say, for example, in my opinion, tribal music. She has not named any person. She has not named any specific instrument. Nothing. There is nothing specific. Yet she has had the courage to mention it, because the question is talking about how cultural regional music go together. And this is what you have to do. Okay. So first and foremost, my earnest request to all of you is start writing answers. If you don't write answers, you will really never know how well you can do. Okay. Most of the toppers who are scoring well are doing this differently, that they are practicing a lot of answers. All right. Is this clear? Okay, good. Now, we'll talk about the steps of effective answer writing. We spoke about introduction, body and conclusion, and then maybe in some cases you can also give a way forward. Now, if you look at the questions of UPSC, introduction, body, conclusion is a format which everybody understands. But if you look at the questions of UPSC, broadly the questions can be divided into two parts, either factual or analytical. Okay, of course there is a overlapping between the two kinds also, but the questions are broadly, they can be categorized into factual and analytical. And your answer writing, your approach to answer writing also changes accordingly. Okay, so let's see some examples. Fact-based questions. If we talk about fact-based questions, let's see some questions. For example, this question UPSC asked in 2023. How are fjords formed? Why do they constitute some of the most picturesque areas of the world? Okay, this is from geography. Where are fjords found? Which country is famous for this? No. Okay, Finland. So mostly Finland. Okay, so again now, this is where knowledge is lacking. You get it? This is where knowledge is lacking. So if knowledge is not there, so art and science of effective answer writing ka koi matlab nahi hai. Your knowledge has to be there. But even a basic amount of knowledge is good. Alright? Now, let's talk about this question. This is a more generic question. Comment on the resource potentials of the long coastline of India and highlight the status of natural hazard preparedness in these areas. Reread the question. Comment on the resource potentials of the long coastline of India and highlight the status of natural hazard preparedness in these areas. So we have a long coastline. We have around 7,500 kilometer odd coastline, right? What are the resources do we get on account of being a coastal country? अगर हम landlocked होते, so what would have happened? क्या नहीं होता हमारे पास? Offshore mining or wind energy, offshore wind energy, okay. Fishing, aquaculture. Indian Ocean तो पूरा ही नहीं होता. We are talking about the resources, okay. We are talking about the resources. अगर हम Indian Ocean की जगह Atlantic Ocean होता तो, alright. Understand. This is where you have to understand why the examiner is asking you a question. He is asking you that resource potential of the long coastline of India. So on account of being a coastal country, हमारे पास क्या resources हैं जो landlocked countries के पास नहीं है? Think of it like that and then answer this question. We don't depend. Yeah, you can use the mics, please.
Trade and commerce.
Trade and commerce via shipping routes. Very good.
Because in ancient times, the Chola rulers, trade and rulers make them more rich than the other countries.
Yes.
And our strategic position in the defense, that
very good. We have a strong navy on account of having a long coastline.
Because we are the geopolitics in the world area.
Yes. How geopolitics? Because we get to have an influence over the maritime sea routes, right? Okay.
Because we gave the alternative to the China, and this is the main threat to our India condition and the world conditions.
Right.
And the marine area fishing and
Fishing, okay, so fishing, energy, okay, offshore, and then along with the
and the main
oil.
region and the main topic is tourism, because
Tourism.
Maldives and Lakshadweep is the main content right now.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. You all agree with him? Tourism. Okay. Anybody else who wants to add any point to this? Please hand him over the mic. Yeah. You have to please use the mic so that everybody at the back can also hear you.
Ma'am, Kerala's sand can be used to produce some
Okay, so you want to talk about the beach sands
Yes.
of Kerala, which is rich in monazite sands,
Monazite
which are
sand.
rich in thorium. So yes, again, mineral, energy or mineral deposits.
Ma'am, economic development.
How economic development?
Actually,
landlocked countries also develop economically. Then how is it
Ma'am,
different?
actually, agriculture's fishings they are the part of our economic development. So, with the help of the sea coast, the fishing and agriculture will be boosted, and this will be impact on our economic development also.
Absolutely. So we can earn more income, export income through aquaculture. India is one of the leading exporters of fish and other aquaculture in the world. So income from that also, correct? Or
One main region from the ancient time is the spices that the coastal areas gives to the world.
spice trade, yes, in ancient times. But is that still relevant? Is that a part of this answer? Not exactly. Not exactly. Okay.
Flora and fauna.
Flora and fauna, very rich marine biodiversity, right? So we have, for example, dugong or sea cow is the state animal of Andaman and Nicobar. So we have marine resources, coral reefs, right? Good.
Tidal energy or wind energy.
Absolutely right. Tidal energy, okay, and offshore wind energy. When you're using the word wind energy, use the word offshore, because wind energy can also be harnessed on a mountain. All right, so make sure you're using the right keyword.
Can we say climate?
Absolutely, why not? Do you think we would have had monsoons had we not been a coastal country? अगर अरेबियन सी, बे ऑफ बंगाल, इंडियन ओशन नहीं होता, हमारे मॉनसून्स होते? No, definitely not. No, this is not called El Nino and La Nina. El Nino, La Nina is a different thing. But yes, we have monsoons on account of being a coastal country. 80% of the precipitation, that is rainfall that India receives in a year, comes in the monsoon season. Baki time तो we don't have water. कहाँ से आएगा? So that is again a very important point. Extraction of salt, again good. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. So when you imagine this is a 15 marker question, if you have to write an answer to this, you can quickly think through the different points and jot them down. Okay, that is what the examiner expects you to do. But this is a relatively simpler question where you can apply logic and answer. In most of the questions, you will not have that kind of bandwidth. So what do? You have to prepare those questions beforehand. You have to prepare that content beforehand. If you look at the answer copies of toppers, it's not that they have delved deeper into a topic. They are merely understanding every topic from issue point of view. Okay, what is the issue? So for example, if India has a long coastline, what are its benefits? Now if you're thinking about the benefits, your mind should automatically question that what are its disadvantages. Are there any disadvantages? What? Security. Natural hazards, absolutely. The question itself is telling you you are more prone to natural hazards like tsunamis, cyclones, right? Very good. And what else? Okay. Smuggling, very nice. Insurgency. Right? So, for example, the Mumbai attacks took place via the sea route. They entered India via the sea route. So, your borders are more vulnerable, right? Yes, absolutely. Drug trafficking, basically all illicit activities, right? So, everything that you are preparing during your course of preparation has to be studied from this point of view. Positive, negative, positive, negative. And this is what most of the UPSC questions are revolving around. Okay, if you are just reading and reading and reading one aspect, ठीक है, ये है, then you will never have a holistic preparation. And answers have to have a holistic view. Okay, so let's move forward. Okay, again another fact-based question. For example, discuss the role of Competition Commission of India in containing the abuse of dominant position by multinational corporations. Refer to the recent decisions. The question itself is telling you that you have to refer to the recent decisions. That means the question itself is testing whether you are prepared with current affairs or not. Is this clear? You understand? These are fact-based questions where you have to prepare. Okay. Now let's take a look at analytical questions. What do the analytical questions look like? Analyze the distinguishing features of the notion of right to equality in the constitutions of USA and in India. What is right to equality?
It's equal before the law.
Speak in the mic. Yes.
Every person is equal before the law.
Equality
there should be
before
no
law?
discrimination between the sex, religion and caste.
Yes, there should be no discrimination based on sex, religion, caste, creed or let's say place of birth. Okay, all right. This happens, we know this is there in the Indian constitution. What about USA? What is the difference between right to equality in USA? तो क्या USA में discrimination होता है? Then what is the case there? Equality among equals. Equity basically. You're trying to say equity. Okay, fine. Anyone else? I am looking for the correct answer. Again, now I am Dronacharya. I have an answer in mind. And the closest one gets to that answer, the more the person.
The equal protection of laws, like in US, it's practiced there.
Okay, so in India, you don't have equal protection of laws?
It is, I think it's positive equality, which is...
Okay, can you elaborate a little bit what exactly you're trying to say? Look, this is the problem. We try to mug up terms. Equality before the law, due process of law.
In USA, there's more focus on meritocracy and liberalism, and in India, there's a major focus on social welfare, like equality based on social welfare and upliftment of.
So we don't have meritocracy. Are we not liberal?
No, we are, but.
Okay. Then what is the difference?
Ma'am, as we see in India.
Who's talking? I'm sorry, I can.
I'm here.
Yeah, please. Thank
Ma'am, India, positive discrimination we have in India. As it is a socialist society.
Absolutely.
And that is capitalist society. In USA, we have capitalist nature. So they are promoted equally, whether rich or poor. So in India, we have positive discrimination.
Absolutely. This is the term. Now, this is what I was looking for. Okay. Now, this is how examiner thinks in the exam also. हाँ ये ठीक लिखा है. This is what I was. You're all actually revolving around the same concept, but you're not using the right word. Okay, so you're not using the right keyword. So that is why you're somewhere beating around the bush. Basically, India has a concept of positive discrimination. We will give employment. We will give positive, reservation of seats, let's say, to the backward community. This is positive discrimination where people for centuries who have suffered on account of whatever society we have, they are being discriminated, not against, but we are helping them come up, right? In contrast to that, USA has no concept of reservation. USA has no concept. All are equal. You prepare. So he used the word meritocracy. That's right. But you can't just say that there is meritocracy in USA and not in India. That would have been wrong. The correct word was positive discrimination, which is there in India, which is not there in USA. So the correct keyword has to be used. Do we understand? Okay. Now, let's answer this question. Let's answer, again, see this question. What are the main features of Vedic society and religion? Do you think some of the features are still prevalent in Indian society? Do you think we still have some Vedic society features still prevalent? Varna system and
Ayush, Ayurveda.
Ayush, okay.
Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha.
Okay, okay, I'll take that. Okay.
Patriotic society.
Patriotic. Oh, tab bhi patriotic the, ab bhi patriotic. Patriarchal. All right, I'm so sorry. Okay, patriarchal. Yes. All right, fine. Taken. Point taken. And Vedic mathematics. Now, this is what happens when you give a point like this. Okay, it's there very much. But when you give a point like this, it will literally थोड़ा सा puts off the examiner कि यार ये main चीज़ों की तो बात ही नहीं कर रहे, कहाँ चला गया वैदिक maths में? You understand? Not that it's wrong, but there are more important points which demand more, weightage, which need to come up in your order of points. Like 1, 2, 3, 4 पे there should be other set of points.
Emphasis on rituals.
Ma'am.
Yeah.
Working on class like divide.
Working on?
Class divide. For example, Lohar and...
Varn system or occupation-based division of the society. Ma'am. Okay.
Ma'am, following the Mitakshara law. Following the Mitakshara law of succession.
Yes. Good.
Ma'am, multiculturalism. Multiculturalist society.
I am unable. Please raise your hand. Okay. All right. Yeah. Multicultural society. Very good. Very nice. You also have the concept of still yagya karna, sacrifices, rituals. They're all there. Okay. So yes, you can. So would you answer this question in yes or a no? The question is asking you, do you think some of the features are still prevalent? What will you answer? If you will not take a stand, what will you say?
Both positive as well. Ma'am, we will take both positive as well as negative. In positive.
How can you take both positive and negative?
Means ma'am कि कौन सा चीज अभी भी इंडिया में फॉलो होता है और कौन सा चीज अभी इंडिया में नहीं फॉलो होता है.
Right. So the answer has to be somewhere balanced. Okay. Similarly, this question: do you think marriage as a sacrament is losing its value in modern India? Do you think it is? No. How many of you think it is losing value? Raise your hands. Honestly, it's your opinion. UPSC ही पूछ रहा है. Do you think? Yeah. Please answer. Why do you think marriage is losing its value in the modern society?
Ma'am, I think it's balanced. It is losing and it is not. So.
It is losing and it's not losing also. But why?
Ma'am, it's losing. We can see it in live-ins and
okay.
LGBT, homosexual marriages.
Okay, very good.
And in Gujarat, there was one case where a woman married to herself. So in that sense, rituals के उसमें हम कह सकते हैं कि it's losing.
Okay. And what are the reasons why all this is happening? Let's say a woman is marrying herself. इतना उसका विश्वास उठ गया.
Maybe.
Why do you think? The question is asking, do you think? Now, yes, you can say, yes, I think that all these things, these are the latest trends. Fine. You have to substantiate your answer.
Modernity का ये हो सकता है.
Modernity?
हाँ, शायद.
Okay.
Ma'am, वो culture.
Influence of Western culture. Okay.
Ma'am, वो culture.
Okay. Yeah.
Ma'am, it can be said as balanced as in losing side, extramarital affairs, intercaste marriage, teenagers losing belief on marriage and prefer to being single. And on other side, even
But
most.
But why? ये तो आप मुझे symptoms बता रहे हो, आप मुझे cause नहीं बता रहे बीमारी का.
Ma'am, on other
Look,
side.
this is what happens when you're writing an answer. ना हम बड़ी भावनाओं में बह जाते हैं. अच्छा ये हो रहा है society. This is the problem in answer writing, and UPSC intentionally puts such questions because it wants to distract you. आपको लगता है मैं बड़ा धुआंधार आंसर लिख दूँ कि हाँ मैरिज का तो कोई रेलेवेंस रह ही नहीं गया. There is no fidelity and this is that. You can go on and on rant, but that is not a proper answer of an officer. You are going to become future officers of the country. Imagine if Modi ji asked you this question. If the Prime Minister of India asked you this question, would you answer in a similar fashion? No. You will say that yes and no, sir. And in my opinion, why? Yes, it is losing value on account of these reasons. However, nonetheless, it is still a very much important institution in the society which keeps it stabilized. Right? That is the answer of an officer. You can't write the answer of a teenager. बहुत गम है, कोई मिलता नहीं है. Okay, please.
Ma'am, if you follow the Hindu.
Please raise hands also. I just lose track who's talking.
If you follow the Hindu code or the Vedic law,
yeah.
Ma'am, the purpose of dampatya or marriage, it is a derived statement, ma'am. I've heard it from somewhere. It's primary to marry a male and a female should marry, and their objective it should be to produce an offspring,
Bear
which is to have
yes.
children.
Yes.
But today we see that most people are not, most
having
couples
kids.
are not having
Double
kids.
income, no kids. Ding couples.
Exactly.
तो
And
क्या point है शादी करने का? Don't marry.
right. And ma'am, the second, if you see it as a value, then dowry is also a value of marriage, which has been prevailing from last 1,000 or 500 years. Today, many people are not happy to accept dowry, but that is a value that we have lost. Dowry has gone away, but it's in a positive way. Secondly, it is a debatable thing. In the Muslim law also, the triple talaq has been abolished.
Right.
So that was also a value to the Muslim religion. But that is a value that we have gone away in today's day. So that I would define
We
my
are
answer in that way.
changing the institution of marriage, the way it is functioning, both in practice as well as in law. We are changing the way, okay? So when you write an answer, your language has to be a little formal, okay? And you can't go on and on. You are limited by time and space constraints, right? 10 number का ही है. So जितने points yes, no में याद आ रहे हैं, quickly write in separate blocks and finish and conclude your answer, okay? Don't get too emotional about such questions. All right? So these are some of the examples of analytical questions that UPSC asks, okay? Yeah.
Ma'am, first of all, the main problem is the education system. In our India, we take education up to 30 years, like UPSC, student 30 to 35, 45 years.
तो UPSC शादी करने से रोक रहा है लोगों को?
No, ma'am. First of all, the main reason is education, and the girl and boys age rises up to 25. People wants that because education is not completed at that time.
Education complete नहीं होता है, and then
and second,
so the mistake is of the education system.
Yeah, no, it is not a mistake. It is the first we can stand on our feet, like job.
Yes, you should. One should,
because
right?
During globalization, the main problem is the job and the income of resource. That we cannot fulfill our needs. That's why people take education. It is not a bad concept.
Exactly. So you choose your words very carefully. You do not use the word education is the problem.
Yes, ma'am.
You say that it takes time for people to build their careers, to become financially independent, which causes a delay in marriage. Please choose your words very carefully. You can't say education system is the problem. Are you trying to imply सबको अनपढ़ रखो और शादी करवा दो?
No.
Right. So the choice of words has to be very carefully selected. Okay. So you want to emphasize the fact that because people take time to build careers and become financially independent, education as well as career building takes a sufficient amount of time, because of which marriage delays are happening, and because of which people are probably losing interest also. Okay. That's a valid point. But the words chosen have to be correct. Okay. You have to be very mindful of these things in the examiner. If you put off the examiner by writing something like this, वो बोलेगा this person is not fit to become an officer, right? He might think that he doesn't understand the value of education. He's mixing two different concepts. UPSC through its various papers. Why do you think UPSC is a subjective paper? अगर knowledge ही test करना है, mains में भी objective रख लो. You just get the MCQs done. That's not the point. They want to test the personality of a candidate. Whether it is through essay, whether it is through ethics, or whether it is through general studies. Your personality speaks in the examination, okay? And you must understand always whenever you're writing answers, always have this idea at the back of your mind that you are talking like an officer and you are maybe talking to a fellow officer. Always have this underlying current in your mind. That will always give you the right perspective, okay?
And ma'am, second thing is that we can influence anyone and anyone's thoughts.
Yeah.
That is not, because if we influence everyone, like TikTok and videos देख के influence होते रहे, तो उससे क्या है, हमारा
social
mind
media is also a valid point in this.
हमारा mind change होता रहेगा, swing होता रहेगा.
Yes.
लेकिन
अब now answer is going beyond verbose. क्या बोला था द्रोणाचार्य ने शुरू में? Keep it brief. You just convey the point, the examiner will tell you whether it is right or wrong. This is the most important, aspect of answer writing in UPSC. People go on and on and on talking about one point. अरे आगे बढ़ो, नया point लिखो, okay? I'll show you the answer copies of toppers. They've written crisp, concise points. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, bus, and then conclusion khatam. This is how you have to attempt answers. And accordingly, your studies have to be done. Okay, anyway, we'll come to that. Let's start. All right, so we have done this. Different kinds of questions we have seen. Now let's talk about the actual answer writing part. We'll talk about the different kinds of introductions. You all must have come across different kinds of introductions during the course of your preparation. You see the introduction of a book, okay, of a movie. कोई movie का introduction कैसा होता है? What is the introduction of a movie like? Shorts. Short summary. Movie के introduction में short summary. I'm not talking about a trailer.
Flash.
I'm talking about the introduction, first scene of a movie. What does it look like?
मैम flashback होता है.
Flashback होता है.
Story build-up होती है.
Story build-up होती है.
Hero की entry होती है.
Hero की entry होती है. There is more suspense building. There is a plot which is created, right? There is a suspense. There is a plot which is created, and the attention of the viewer is grabbed. For example, now the tea has come. I can use this example. चाय है और सर्र चाय गिर रही है. First scene में, and everybody is hooked to the screen. What's happening? Who's drinking tea? What is happening? Okay, this is what happens in a movie. Contrary to that, please don't try to apply this strategy to your answers. Contrary to that, your introduction in UPSC answers should tell the examiner that I have understood the question. Please read my answer further. ये लिख के मत आ जाना line. Okay. You have to say that the introduction should convey to the examiner that this is the demand of the question, all right, and going forward, how I am going to answer this. It should invoke, it should compel the examiner to read further, all right. Now let's look at some examples. So for example, you have a definition based introduction. Simple hai, kuch bhi hai, पूछ लिया. Let's say about, give me an example. फेडरलिज्म पे क्वेश्चन है तो आपने फेडरलिज्म को डिफाइन कर दिया दैट इट इज अ डिविजन ऑफ पावर्स. ओके, यू कैन टॉक अबाउट दैट. देन अनदर एग्जांपल इज डेटा और फैक्ट बेस्ड. सो व्हाट वुड यू से? फॉर एग्जांपल, इफ let's say the introduction is talking about malnutrition or hunger in India, you give certain statistics with respect to malnutrition and hunger in India, that India ranks poorly on so and so MDI index, and there is a lot of hunger and starvation that is witnessed. So you give some data, whatever data you know. All right. Then background. You talk about the background event, why this thing is in news, or what happened earlier, and then in that context, what is happening now. Similarly, on that line, there is a recent event. Recent event would mean, for example, recently something took place. Let's say a disaster took place. Okay. Let's say there was an oil spill which took place, and UPSC is asking you a question about what are oil spills, which it did in 2023. So you can answer that yes, oil spills are this, and in the recently India witnessed or the world witnessed so and so oil spills on a massive scale. So again, give some recent event. Then you can talk about a report. You can always cite a report. It is always better to cite a report which is more known, which is better known by even the examiner, and it is widely popular. And finally, when you don't know anything, जब कुछ नहीं आता है, when you don't know, when you don't understand where I'm going and you're lost in the exam, summarize the question itself. I will show you examples of how. Definition based introduction. Okay. This is Junaid Ahmed, rank 3's copy. Okay, look at the question. Referendums are portrayed as a popular governance in its purest form. However, it is also argued that they often subvert democracy rather than serve it. Examine in the light of recent developments across the globe. When the question itself is telling you, the examiner is expecting you to talk about the recent events. So you ought to know कि recently world में कहाँ referendum हुआ है and क्यों हुआ है. बस इतना ही जानना है to write a good answer. Okay. So referendum, he talks about a definition. Referendum is a tool of direct democracy wherein people directly vote on an issue or policy of the country. It's a simple introduction. He is just defining that what it is. It is a tool of direct democracy where people directly vote on an issue or policy. There is nothing technical about this definition, but it serves the purpose aptly, right? You understand? रेफरेंडम को बता दिया कि रेफरेंडम होता क्या है. Then the recent referendum held in Britain for the question on Brexit showed that decisions by the people may not be beneficial for the country. कितना simple language है. This is rank 3, mind you guys. This is rank 3, and these tests, these are vision tests that they have attempted, and they must have attempted, let's say, 1 or 2 months prior to the exam. So what they have done in the actual exam would not be very different from this. But it is so simple and straightforward. If you are an examiner, iska reading is so easy. You realize that it's like a breeze. Referendum is this. And recently in the case of Brexit, we saw that what people decide cannot always be good for a country. This is a lovely introduction. Okay. Another introduction, report based. Again, this is Akshat Jain, rank 2's copy. Okay. He says, identify the regions being impacted by desertification in India. Bringing out the major reasons for it, analyze the effectiveness of steps taken to combat it. So he's talking about desertification as an issue. So he starts with a report. Simple. As per the State of Our Environment Report 2017, 8 states of India find large areas of their land suffering from desertification. Do you realize he has not put any hefty data in the introduction? He has simply mentioned the report and said that 8 states of India have majority portions of their land suffering from desertification. In the next line, he simply says these include Haryana, Punjab, Rajasthan, among others. Introduction. This is simple, this is straightforward, this is not difficult at all. Anyone who has even read an article, intently and consciously read an article whenever this report came, okay, that this is the problem that India is facing, state of our environment mein desertification is, let's say, impacting 8 states of India. He simply mentioned that. कोई बहुत percentage, decimal, dot, dot, ये सब कुछ नहीं, nothing. Just a simple fact based on a report. And the report is very important. Alright? Okay. Next, see. Recent event based. Okay. This is Naman Goyal, rank 30, 2021. He says, the question is, examine the link between the recent locust attack and climate change. Simple question. Locust attack ho raha hai. Is there a link with climate change? Is it increasing because of, is the frequency of locust attacks increasing because of climate change? Simple question. Now, look at his answer. Okay. Recently, because the word recent is there in the question itself, he is using recent event. Recently, Western India, Rajasthan, Gujarat, MP, Punjab, simple, experienced large-scale locust attack which led to loss of crops of farmers. बताओ इतना simple sentence. This is a straightforward simple sentence, but we even struggle to write this in the examination. Okay, we feel it is not good enough. But anyone who has read the news or even heard the news would be able to write that yes. Then in order to show the link between climate change and how the, from where the locust attack originated, he has given a map of India and the Arabian Peninsula, where in Somalia he says there is origin in Somalia and shows the track of the locust. Just adds a little bit more value to the answer and introduction there and then. It's just simple, isn't it? How difficult is it? It's not difficult, but he has a basic requisite knowledge, but presented in a good manner. Alright? Okay. Let's see one more introduction. I told you, when you are lacking any sort of report nahi aati, data nahi aata, definition you are not able to articulate, this is the easiest and the best way you summarize the question itself. Let's see how. Even though the Representation of People's Act has been amended from time to time, the issues pertaining to criminalization and influence of money power remain unresolved. Comment. Okay. So the question itself is telling you that although Representation of People's Act has been amended, but there is still problems of money problems and criminalization and influence of money power. These problems are still there in the electoral process. Now, also discuss the role played by the Judiciary and Election Commission. Now, what is his introduction? Representation of People's Act was formulated to ensure free and fair elections in the country. Despite of long list of provisions, criminalization and influence of money power is a recurring problem in the Indian election. He is merely repeating what is there in the question. You realize that? This can also be a form of introduction. Okay, and this is totally acceptable because this introduction tells the examiner that I have understood the demand of the question. Okay, the examiner is forced to read further. Acha, why do you think that this problem still pertains? Okay, still persists. This is how you have to entice the examiner to read further. Your introductions should tell the examiner that I have understood the demand of the question. I have certain data and points to substantiate it. Please read further. If your introduction goes in some other direction, it is highly likely that the examiner will not even read further. He will simply feel that this guy has not understood the demand of the question. Okay. Now, main content and body of the answer. Okay. Now, I've shown you how different types of introductions can be covered, right? Now, let's take a look at the main content. Now, see, first and foremost, please understand, like I told you, like Dronacharya, always remember this example. The examiner always, look, UPSC is a subjective paper, the mains is a subjective paper, but there has to be some yardstick against which they are measuring all the candidates. So they definitely have a blueprint of the answers. Definitely. Otherwise, objectivity nahi rahegi. Any examiner can give any marks based on his or her whims and fancies. That is not the case. There has to be some yardstick, some benchmark against which all the examiners are evaluating all the candidates. Okay. And the closer we are to that, the more marks you are likely to get. Okay. So, the body of the answer should have certain points which will make it stand out. Okay, which will make it stand out. For example, it should include the relevant keywords. I gave you an example in class just now. How you are not using the right keyword will not fetch you marks. I was probably for that question on equality, I was looking for the keyword of positive discrimination. Okay, and the moment he said it, I did not even listen to his entire answer. I was just looking for that word. And I said, yes, this is what I'm looking for. This is the human psychology. This is how a human mind works. Okay. So, in our preparation, whenever we are preparing a topic, whatever are the relevant and important keywords related to that topic, you must underline them and you must consciously try to memorize them. It should not be कि हाँ मैंने flow में पढ़ लिया मुझे समझ आ गया. I have understood right to equality. No. You must consciously remember these keywords because these are the words that fetch you marks. These are the words that make you stand out from the crowd. Okay. What else? Cover multiple dimensions. एक ही point को खींचना नहीं है. Please try to cover as many dimensions as possible. Please try to write multiple points, as many points as possible. Substantiate with examples. Newspaper reading is not just for just for knowledge or jotting down notes. You come across several case studies, you come across several schemes, you come across several people who have achieved so much. Let's say feminization of agriculture is a topic. Okay, so you can talk about some female agriculturalists who are doing well. You can talk about certain schemes for women in agriculture. Okay, those things have to be interrelated. The concepts have to be interrelated and maintain a coherent flow. There is nothing more important than this. If you see the answer copies, you saw Ishita's first answer related to religion and culture, culture and music, regional music. There was a very nice flow to her answer, right? मुझे struggle नहीं करना पड़ा to read what she has written. She simply mentioned there is influence, gave a map, talked about the different influences and concluded. So it's a very simple answer. Simple is tougher to achieve and simple fetches you more marks than complicated. Always remember this. Okay? Simple will fetch you more marks than anything complicated. Alright? Okay. Now, Let's see some examples. Again, this is Ishita's answer. Okay, rank 1. Who better than rank 1 to guide us? All right. It is being argued that India is struggling with overflowing food grains in warehouses. It is being argued that India is struggling with overflowing food grains in warehouses. Discuss the statement in view of the existing buffer stock policy of India. So, you have to talk about the existing buffer stock policy of India. Let's read her answer. She says her introduction is, Supreme Court recently highlighted the paradox of overflowing food grains, rotting on one hand, and people not getting 2 square meals on the other. Isn't this a lovely introduction? She has shown the examiner that I am reading the newspaper. I know what is happening in the country, and she has used the absolutely right words. Overflowing food grains, rotting on one hand, and people not even getting 2 square meals. Okay, this is an excellent introduction. It encourages the examiner, it compels the examiner to read further. Achha, what more do you have to say on this? Okay, so then she talks about reasons for overflow. Very nicely, she has put it in one section in a box. Reasons for overflow. Then demand-supply mismatch creates reason to store food grains. Control of inflation, control inflation of food items. So for example, recently Ukraine crisis has shot up the prices. Okay. Next, government control on export policy. Next, FCI procurement under MSP is unlimited. Next, farmers shifting to food grains for benefits under MSP vis-a-vis going for, let's say, other crops. Do you realize how simply she is just stating the points? जितना we try to, हम सोचते हैं कि हम PhD कर लें, हम सोचते हैं हम हर point को बहुत अच्छे से बता दें. That's not required. Please understand, the examination, this examination does not give you enough time and space. You get only 3 sheets. Okay, does not give you time, does not even give you space to write so much. And you have to cover all the dimensions that are there in the question. Simply just give the points. Next, come to the next part. Okay, so she's shown it in the form of a procurement, transport, storage, like she wants to show it in the form of a state government and central government, how the PDS system works between the two. Then she talks about government has the mandate of supplying. So she talks about from the point of view of demand. Okay. Then she talks about WPI, CPIs, other statutory requirements. And then what are the problems associated with it? She has given the reasons. What are the reasons for even overflow? And then what are the problems associated with it? Okay. The question says, discuss the statement in view of the existing buffer stock policy of India. So she has to talk about the buffer stock policy of India. And at the same time, she has given the reasons. Now she is giving the problems. What are the problems that this is causing? So she is talking about all the problems and then comes down to the solutions. Simply, solutions. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here in solutions, if you see, she is mentioning the relevant and key points, the Vadava committee recommendations. This is what the examiner is looking for in the answer. Simple, wo dhoond raha hai ye point. This must be there in the blueprint or the mock answer that they have. This point must be there. Okay? Shanta Kumar committee. Then maybe National Food Security Act. Then food security. And finally, she goes on to conclude her answer with a nice conclusion. Now tell me, how difficult is it? The problem is not so much with how to write a brilliant answer. The answers, in fact, are very simple. You jot down the problems, you jot down the causes and the solution, and you conclude it nicely. The problem is in content. The content has to be rich. And how does your content become rich? Your answers will be rich if your note making is better. Please understand that the answers you write in the examination are a direct reflection of the notes that you are taking, of the notes that you are making, how you are studying, how you are consolidating information. Because in the examination, you are merely writing what is here. And what is here depends on what you are reading. If you are reading again and again, text after text, bahut sari books and books, nothing will get here in the concise manner. If you are jotting down points like this in your own memory, you will find it like a breeze to write these points in the examination. The art of effective answer writing is directly proportional to the art of effective notes making. Your notes have to be good. Your notes have to be thorough, they have to be crisp, and they have to include all the relevant dimensions. If your notes are not good, you will always struggle to, yaar maine usme kya padha tha aur usme kya padha tha. That will keep happening. Okay? And when you're reading the newspapers, see, you only have to jot down these names कि ये committee है is talking about this, उसका ये mandate है, ये committee है उसका ये mandate है. Majority of the people struggle to prepare for UPSCs because they spend too much time on the newspapers. दिन में 2-3 घंटे, especially people who are just starting out, they spend 2 to 3 hours only on the newspapers, taking in things very slowly. Okay, initially it will take time. But once you're in the process of preparation, 6 or 8 months down the line, you should cut down that time to 1 hour and you should merely just see what news will give me, what information which I can use in the examination. Always study from the examination point of view. That is this article, what part of this article can I put in the exam? Kya aayega mujhse? Let's say if there is a news on, let's say some new species of fish which has been discovered. What part of this article is relevant for me? The name of the species, where is it found? Is there any other like this in India? Is it endemic to India? That's all. These 3-4 points, that's all. That's more than enough. Just these 3-4 points have to be jotted in your notes. Everything else has to be kept aside. Please stop piling up newspapers. Please stop piling up loads and loads of information. It is not required. Take the crux of the matter and move ahead. You see answers of toppers? They are just writing the points. That is the answer to effective answer writing. Okay, all right. Again, let's talk a little bit about her presentation, how she has, let's say again, this is Ishita's answer copies. She has simply how she has put things in nice paragraphs. It is legible from a distance. You have seen one bad copy also where handwriting was not as visible or as legible. Okay, everything is para-spaced. Challenges ko highlight kar diya hai. If she knows data, she has mentioned it right at the start. That India has a long coastline of 7,500 kilometers, 13 ports handle over 65% of the shipments. Simple. The examiner there and then knows that yes, she has understood the demand of the question, she knows her data, she knows her statistics. Then goes on to talk about challenges, remedial measures. I just need to take one glance at this answer and I know this is a good answer. And this is what you have to strive to achieve. This is what you have to strive to achieve in this examination. At one glance, the examiner should know, yes, this person knows his content. You saw that answer on regional music. It did not have too much content. Content was okay, but the presentation was very structured. It was in a very proper format. This is what is required. That structuring has to be there in your mind, and that can only come with practice. That can only and only come with practice. So you see this map here. Lot of people have a problem with map drawing. उनको लगता है I'm not drawing a perfect map. अच्छा नहीं बना है. Do you think this is a perfect map? Right? Why? What is the problem? Nobody cares. All they care about is, have you understood the issue? Are you balanced enough to give a solution to the issue? That is what this examination is trying to judge. Okay. Another answer copy of hers. Look the way she has very neatly and nicely presented her answers. And of course, it's not just about neat presentation. The content is rich. And she has mentioned as many dimensions as possible. If she's talking about carbon inequality in India, she talks about rural-urban divide, she talks about rich-poor divide, she talks about east-west, she talks about indigenous problems, tribals, northeast, sectoral differences. She has tried to see every problem from all different dimensions. And mind you, it's not necessary that she would have prepared this topic beforehand. Even while sitting in the examination, she has thought of different dimensions. And that is what you have to train your mind to do. 2 बार भी अगर आप ऐसा आंसर लिखोगे ना, third time when you come across a question, your mind will automatically start thinking that yes, I can divide it on the basis of rural-urban, rich-poor, maybe east-west, or maybe any other way. Okay, your mind automatically starts working on those lines, and that is what we have to train it for. All right? Okay. Now, like I said, nothing of importance can be built and expected to last without a strong foundation. We need a strong foundation if you want it to last. If you want your answers, your answer writing skills, your knowledge to last a longer period, because UPSC is a marathon, it is not a sprint. You never know in which attempt you might actually clear this examination. Correct? So this is a long haul, and for this, the art of note making, I am repeating it, is extremely important. Okay. Now let's do one small exercise. This is a small snippet from a government website. Okay. Now this is a snippet on natural farming. Now tell me, if I have to take down notes from this on natural farming, what are the points that you will jot down? Please raise your hands so that we can hand over the mic to you. Anybody who wants to attempt, how will you take notes from this? What are the points that you will jot down from in your notebook?
Definition.
What is the definition?
वो तो देखना पड़ेगा.
नहीं. I am sorry, you cannot get away with that. I want the exact point that you will note it down. Yeah. Can you hand him over the mic?
Ma'am, firstly write chemical-free farming system.
Chemical-free farming system, okay.
And resources recycling and farmer resource optimization.
Okay.
And ma'am, chemical input. Fourth line.
Okay.
And third line, ma'am, based on farm biomass recycling with major stress. Third line.
With major stress. Or?
Ma'am, integrated crops, tree and livestock. Second line, ma'am.
Okay, integrates crops, trees and livestock. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I think, simply note down the points in green.
You will simply note down the points in green. Encourage biodiversity, discourage environmental exposure. Okay. So what are the points in green talking about?
I think those are the important points that tell what actually natural farming does. I cannot properly see them. I just read encourage biodiversity, supports animal health and welfare.
Okay.
So I think those are the important points.
So can I say that this would be the advantages of natural farming?
Yes.
Yeah. So I would rather categorize them into advantages of natural farming.
Farming, yes.
Would that be enough?
No. In this,
if there is a question on natural farming, don't you think you require some definition which you can start your answer with? Some generic line, right? So maybe we'll pick up some points from here also?
Yes.
Okay, tell me, what would you like to pick up?
the first line,
Which is?
natural farming is a chemical-free farming system rooted in Indian traditional, enriched with modern understanding of ecology.
Will you be able to reproduce this line in the exam?
No.
Then that's what I wanted to teach you. You cannot pick up stuff which you cannot remember. You only pick up stuff which you know you can remember. You have seen introductions of toppers. Do you think they have written such long and big and jargon-full sentences?
No.
Have you seen any introduction which says natural farming is a chemical-free farming system rooted in Indian tradition, enriched with modern understanding of ecology, resource recycling? No, it's not required. That is where the art of note making and preparation comes in. Your preparation is not right. Your notes are not right, because of which you struggle in the examination to write the answers. Simple, just say, natural farming is a chemical-free farming system. Chhod do rooted in Indian tradition. Leave it. You know it fine. If there is a question around it, then you can say that yes, it will be. But when you want to learn, you just say it is a chemical-free farming system which integrates crops, trees and livestock. If you had to just learn this, and if you had just noted down in your notes, tum kabhi nahi bhuloge, you will never forget it. Because it's a very simple definition, and that's all that is required. Simple definitions. Natural farming is a chemical-free farming system which integrates crops, trees and livestock. Okay. Then it has certain advantages. This. Apart from that, it will reduce dependency on purchased inputs. It is a cost-effective practice, and it has a scope for increasing employment and rural development. These are multiple dimensions. Agar natural farming pe if there is a question, you answer with this as your introduction, you give these points as the advantage and then some points as challenges. For example, it says they are currently at early stages and are still, acceptance is still coming from the farming community. And one further point to that will be some states like these are already adopting it. So if you want to remember the names of the states, just draw a rough map of India and highlight the states here in your notes. I'm talking about your notes, I'm not talking about the answer copy, in your notes. So when you open your notebook, you're about to enter the examination hall. Always make notes from this point of view. The moment you're about to enter the examination hall, one cursory glance at that page should tell you, should help you revise usme kya kya hai. So the page should have the heading natural farming, under which this definition, these 4 or 5 advantages, this map, what states are there, and maybe 4 or 5 or 2 or 3 points on the challenges. Your topic is done. And when on top of it, if you come across, let's say, some important other things, for example, you come across zero budget, natural farming, you come across Subhash Palekar's model, then you can add 1 or 2 points here, whichever you come across in the newspaper, inhi notes ke niche apne wo 2 points likh lo. Please make your preparation easy, don't make it difficult. First, do the structure. The problem with this is, most of the people in UPSC preparation, if you construct a building, okay, let's say we have to construct this building. What would you do first? Would you first get the chairs or would you first build the room? You will first build the room, you will first build the structure. So first finish your syllabus, have the basic structure ready. Then you fit in the interiors, bring the chairs, put on beautiful lights and all that decoration. The problem is everybody starts focusing on the case studies, the fodder material, the extra data, all the beautiful things. But your main content is lacking. Finish the syllabus, have a concrete structure in mind कि ये subject में, ये paper में, ये topics हैं, इनमें ये major points हैं. Now you add it on whatever mirchi masala you want to add to it. पहले दाल तो पका लो. Got it? You understood? Please focus on completing the syllabus and building your structure first. Then you go on to all the additions. Newspapers will give you a lot of fodder material, but you should know how and when to use them. But your static portion is the base of your foundation. You have to finish that well in time so that you have time for revision. Okay? Is this clear? This is a small brief on note making, and it's only to tell you that your notes should not be too heavy. They should not be too intensive that you cannot even revise them. Keep it simple, utna hi likho jitna tum yaad rakh sakte ho. Otherwise, leave it. That is more valuable than trying to write down everything in your notes and then not remembering anything in the examination. That has no value. All right? Clear? Okay. Let's move forward. Conclusions. So conclusions again, like introductions, there can be many types of conclusions. You can have a summarized conclusion where you're trying to summarize the entire, whatever was points you were put in your answer. You can have a balanced conclusion, like we talked about the marriage question, where you can take a neutral stand on an issue, all right? And you can have a reformist or a futuristic conclusion, where you are trying to tell that yes, further this can be done. Let's see some examples. So for example, summarized conclusion. Provide an account, this was a question, okay? This is All India Rank 18 Siddharth Shukla's copy. Provide an account of the contributions of Ram Manohar Lohia during the Indian freedom struggle and post-independence India. So let's just directly go to the conclusion. He says, Ram Manohar Lohia was an important voice of social justice and equality throughout his life. Just simple. He has written a simple conclusion, okay? Among the major legacies of the Indian freedom movement, civil liberties formed an important one. So civil liberties is an important legacy of the Indian freedom movement. On account of that, we have received a lot of rights, right? So what does the conclusion say? It says, let's say, the freedom struggle thus was notable to ensure civil liberties, which is a basic constituent of human development and culminated in the Indian Constitution. Simply you are summarizing what the question is already telling you, what you have already substantiated in the body. Alright, this is a simple summary. This anybody can do anytime. Now, let's see a balanced conclusion. PPP model, if harnessed properly, has the potential to bridge the gaps in India's healthcare system. Discuss. So, she goes on, this is Ishita Kishore again, she goes on to say, the need of the hour is to retain a welfarist approach for a capability development, yet at the same time, private sector support is required to achieve sustainable development goals of health and Alma Ata Declaration. Okay, now again, look, in her conclusion also, she is showing the examiner that I have the knowledge of the relevant sustainable development goal, SDG 3, and that declaration. Okay, and simply she is saying the need of the hour is to maintain a balance. You just don't want a PPP model, you also need a welfarist approach, because you cannot always gain profits out of health for a country like India. Alright, clear? Now look at this question again. The Quit India movement marked a new direction in the struggle against the British colonial rule in India. Analyze. So just the conclusion, this is AIR 2, Jagriti, and she says Quit India movement, unlike its predecessors, was militant, non-violent in its spirit. Some historians refer it as August Revolution. It sent signals about clear intentions of Indians that colonial rule was near its end. Okay, had to end. So simple but effective conclusion. You know, when the examiner is done reading with your answer, if you're writing such an impactful, forceful conclusion, right, it tells the examiner that yes, it gives them a sense of closure. कि ठीक है, पूरा अच्छे से किया और end भी अच्छे से किया. It gives them a sense of closure. Like you watch a movie, if you are left hanging in the climax, you don't feel satisfied, right? When you know there is a happy ending, then you are satisfied that yes, it has now come to an end. There's a sense of closure, which is the job of a conclusion. Okay, and a reformist conclusion again tells about the way forward, what can be done. So for example, prohibition of employment as manual scavengers and the Rehabilitation Act 2013 provides an effective mechanism for empowerment of intended beneficiaries in the society. The question is talking about manual scavenging as an issue. You can never support this issue. You will always have to talk against it. Okay, so your conclusion will have to be reformist. It will have to give a way forward, which is talking about ending manual scavenging in all its current forms. Okay, so for example, manual scavenging is reformed form still persists and leads to death of thousands of sanitation workers in each year. Maybe that act of itself carrying is not there anymore, but people are still forced to go down the sewage pipes for cleaning, and that is causing a lot of deaths. And this is there you often seen in the newspapers. Okay, so you talk about that and you say that this is something that needs to end. Manual scavenging in all its forms has to end, and there is a need to ensure adequate safeguards for the workers. Okay, this is a reformist, where you know sure shot and where you know that you can give a positive way forward, something needs to change, you can definitely take a stand there. Let's see one final. Environmentalism surfaced in the form of many organized movements in post-independence India. Discuss. Okay, so the person, this is again Ishita, and she has written, environmentalism reflects our culture and was reflected in India's tall Panchamrit commitments at Glasgow COP26. Do you see a pattern in her answers? In all her conclusions, she is mentioning something substantial. She is giving not just generic sentences, but she is giving either some keyword, right? Usme culture wale mein bhi tha, you saw that there was a talk about the recent development of a museum, Karnataka museum. Again, she is talking about Panchamrit. So in every conclusion, she is giving some good point to the examiner, which makes him feel that yes, she knows her words, she knows her knowledge, she has the content. Okay, and then the need of the hour is to, again, the way she simply said, expand Center for Science and Environment, although that is an NGO, and unite sporadic movements, industry, academia, government collaboration. Simple points. You can write this anywhere. This generic here, if you think of it, you can talk about multi-stakeholder collaboration in many aspects. You can talk about uniting sporadic movements again in many aspects, right? So this is how conclusions can be reformist. You talk about what else can be done. The future way of taking it forward. All right. Okay. Now, we have seen a generic introduction, body and conclusion. But I'm sure certain subjects have certain requirements. Okay, certain subjects require you to write answers in a specific way. So let's quickly take a look at that. For example, art and culture. What do you think the examiner would be expecting in an art and culture answer? Facts? Facts is a very broad term. The fact that you're sitting here is also a fact. Origin, okay, good.
Some examples and time period.
Examples, the time period to which it belongs. So chronology, right? Okay, what else? Relevance, okay, relevance at that time and relevance in the current context also. So you saw that question on Vedic culture. That is, it is asking its relevance in today's times. Similar thing UPSC had asked in Indus Valley civilization, that the structure of Indus Valley civilization and architecture, do you think it is still in use? Do you think we are still using that? Again, uska relevance in the current format. So that is also one aspect which should be touched upon. Okay, anything else?
Design.
Who's answering?
Design.
Design, yes, okay. So let's say you're talking about temple architecture. If you're talking about Nagara style or Dravida style, yes, the examiner expects you to draw a basic diagram, okay? What is Vimana, what is Mandapa, the basic structure of the temple architecture. Okay, now for example, temple architecture, because of the recent constructions of temple all across in India and the world, it has become an important feature. So you can expect a question on those lines. And you can expect a comparison on what was it then and how is it different now. Or what are the similarities. Okay, please try to guess or please try to anticipate the questions that can be asked in the exam. It will help your preparation, in the right direction. Okay, okay. What else? Maps and diagrams and cause and effect. That if something is happening, what is its effect? Something happened because of which, let's say in ancient India, there were certain traditions and cultures because of which, what is its impact even today? Okay, so that also is important. Modern Indian history. What could be the important things? Chronology, right? What happened after that? It's because everything has a reason. So the chronology has to be understood. You have to understand important personalities and their contributions. So let's say authors and books, what people did, for example, let's say Sardar Patel, right? How he helped in, so Statue of Unity sabko pata hai. But do you really know how he helped unite the country? Now prepare an answer on those lines, okay? That if a question is asked on how Sardar Patel helped in unification of the country, you should have 5-6 unique points ready. Alright, that's how preparation has to be done. Include all groups and their leaders. So for example, women in the Indian freedom struggle and their leaders, different leaders, women leaders. Name some women leaders of the Indian freedom struggle. Sarojini Naidu, Annie Besant, Sucheta Kriplani, Lakshmi Bai, very good. Rani Lakshmi Bai, very good. Jyotiba Phule. Jyotibai Phule was the husband of Savitribai Phule, okay? Okay, and abhi naam pe nahi jana hai, okay? Okay, and Usha Mehta pe movie is coming. What was she famous for? Radio, secret radio during the Quit India movement, alright? Now again, this question has already been asked by UPSC. Movie to ab aa rahi hai, alright? Okay, and analyze the nature of movements. So you saw in that question in Quit India movement, right? The topper had mentioned that it was a violent or non-violent movement. So the nature of the movement also becomes important. This you can add as a feature in your answer. And authors and their work, of course, more and more that this person has written so and so literary work, that becomes important. Society, what are the aspects you would cover in society? You have to use proper terms, okay? You can't just use casual terms. Like we saw in that question of marriage we discussed, the proper terms have to be used. Alright, then you have to analyze all aspects, both positive as well as negative. But if you're talking about, let's say, women in the era of globalization, it has to be both positive as well as negative. Okay, what are the challenges and what are the opportunities? And finally, add some relevant examples that will enrich your answer. All right. Okay. So for example, let's say you're talking about women in globalization. What would you write? You would write that women are getting more career opportunities on account of a more globalized world, on account of a more interconnected world, right? Then maybe if you want to substantiate that, you can talk about the number of CEO women or number of women in the top echelons of MNCs or Fortune 500 companies is this. So with that kind of data, you should know what to use where. Alright, and that enriches your answer. That tells the examiner that you know your content, you know the points, and you're actually trying to make a valid point. Okay. Geography. I cannot emphasize enough the value of maps and diagrams in geography. Your answer in geography is incomplete if you have not drawn a map or a diagram. Okay. Most of the questions in geography, the examiner expects you to draw. Again, this is an answer copy. This is Uma Haritha's answer copy, All India rank 3, and please see the map. This is not to scale, this is not to proportion, but it is still conveying what she wants to convey. She's talking about the cotton growing regions, okay, cotton textile industry. And this is a simple map. Because every examiner understands you are short of time and space. You do not have the time to draw very neat boxes and pencils to beautify. To be very honest, if an examiner actually sees those kind of maps and less content, he will deduct marks because he knows you're just whiling away time in the exam. Alright, so you must understand that your maps should add value, okay? It's not for beautification purposes only. Alright, next, international relations. What are the important aspects of international relations? It should have a multi-dimensional approach. If you're talking about the relation between two countries, you should not only talk about economic relations, infrastructure projects, but also people-to-people relations. Okay? You should cover all aspects of international relations, not just diplomacy, but otherwise also. Business to business, people to people, governments to governments. Alright? Is this clear? Then, specific keywords. IR is also full of specific keywords. You have to use the right terminology. Okay, bilateral investments. These terms have to be used. Okay, so you make sure that you are picking up the right terminology. Analyze background and history of events. If India and Pakistan have a certain set of relationships today, if they have a certain nature of relationship today, there is a long history behind it, right? There is a long background behind it. And one must understand this in the context of world affairs also. India, Pakistan to हमें बहुत अच्छी तरह पता है, but when you're talking about any other country, you must understand the background relationship India has had with that country. So background is very, very important. All right. Then the views of diplomats and heads of states, they are very important. If you can add this in your answer, you know, that let's say the external affairs minister recently spoke about this. Like Ishita had talked about Supreme Court judgment, that observation was made by Supreme Court. If you can quote, there is absolutely no problem with that. It only shows the examiner that you are reading the newspapers, you are aware of what is going on. All right? Okay. Economics. Economics. Again, economics is something which requires you to have a thorough understanding of the concepts. It should not be the case that you are reading the newspaper and you don't know what is CRR, you don't know what is SLR, you don't know what is repo, then you will be totally lost. Your concepts in economics should be absolutely clear from your static books, your NCRTs, your class notes and etc. And then on top of it, you can add all the fodder information you pick from the newspaper. For example, RBI is following a tight monetary policy. That would mean what? So what are the different rates it has increased? Alright. Similarly, you have to think about all concepts, employment, the monetary policy, the fiscal policy, budget, everything, external sector, all those aspects have to be understood. First basics and then you add on the top information. If you have read the economic survey, so Vision gives you a survey summary every year. There is a video also which is uploaded on YouTube. In addition to that, there is material also which is there. So you can download that, you can access that, and you can just read the main highlights of the economic survey. You don't have to read the entire survey. We do that for you. All right. So just read it, and you know what are the important points you can mention. You can mention in your answer that economic survey on this issue mentions this and this. All right. Similarly, graphs and charts, if you can, good, well enough, if you want to show trends, but please don't get too much involved in it. Simple graphs and charts which are showing you simple trends, let's say a declining trend or an increasing trend, okay? And finally, in economics, one thing which people mostly miss is the socio-economic aspect of a problem. If you're talking about unemployment, you must address the socio-economic aspect of it also. It tells the examiner that you are thinking of a problem from a 360-degree point of view, and you are addressing all aspects of it, okay? So these are the important things to be mentioned in an economics answer. Environment and disaster management. Again, this is a topic which has both relevance from current affairs as well as static portion. Environment static portion has a lot of basics. Disaster management has a basics. For example, disaster risk reduction. There is now an emphasis more on preparedness for disaster rather than recovery. Okay, rather than post-disaster, we are in the focusing on the pre-disaster phase. We are building disaster resilient infrastructure. So we will talk about, we'll lay an emphasis on that also. And in such context, you can practice flowcharts. You can practice flowcharts. For example, you want to show pre-disaster, disaster, and then post-disaster. Pre-disaster, you can talk about, you know, let's say preparedness. You can talk about infrastructure. In post-disaster, you can talk about response, recovery, rehabilitation. So all these things, your infographics and if your flowcharts are prepared in advance, it will be very easy for you to just simply replicate it in the examination. And for environment, again, there can be static questions like in oil spill. There was a question on oil spills, okay? And there can also be questions based on recent things. For example, WHO has recently given out guidelines on air pollution. So what are those guidelines? And in the context of National Clean Air Program in India, what is its current status? Okay, so understand you can have both kind of questions in environment and disaster management. Like every other subject, your theory has to be solid, and on top of that, you have to build. Finally, management of the syllabus. You cannot write good, you cannot score well. तुम एक आंसर अच्छा लिख लो, दो लिख लो. Out of 15 or 20 questions, if you are writing 5 very good answers and 10 poor answers, or even if you are not able to attempt it, there's no point. There's no point of effective answer writing if you are not attempting all the questions. So you understand that what toppers have done. You have seen Ishita's answers. She has consistently attempted all questions. She has answered all questions in a similar fashion to the best of her abilities, scoring a, let's say 5-6 marks out of 10 in every answer, or a 50-60%, and finally coming to this stage. So please understand, the art of effective answer writing makes sense if you are finishing your syllabus, so that you are attempting the entire paper and the law of averages works. अगर एक क्वेश्चन थोड़ा अच्छा नहीं भी लिखा है और अगर एक थोड़ा अच्छा लिखा है, it will balance out. But if you're writing 1 or 2 very good questions and you're fizzling out in the other ones, it makes no sense. You cannot score. Ultimate goal is to score marks. So law of averages has to work. So management of syllabus has to be done in a very effective manner. So what is it that the examiner does not expect? What he expects, I have told you. But what does the examiner not expect from you? What does he not expect from you? Calligraphy. The examiner does not expect you to draw beautiful diagrams with very nice handwriting, cursive writing and all that. It's not required. They already understand that you are under time and space constraint. They don't expect that. They don't expect you to write long verbose sentences. Please understand this for once and for all. The examiner loses interest. The examiner loses interest if you write too long sentences. Keep your sentences short. You will see this pattern among all toppers, that the sentences are short and crisp. The tone is da 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 da. That's how it is. Okay, it's very crisp and concise. You don't have to कोई भूल भुलैया में उसको घुमाना नहीं है examiner को. Okay, it has to be very crisp and concise. Your sentences should be short and informative. That's all. Third is, the examiner does not expect you to draw perfect maps and sketches. I have already shown you the maps of certain toppers. They are far from perfect, all right, but they are totally acceptable and they convey the point, and that is what is required. And finally, the examiner does not want too much elaboration of one point or one dimension. He or she wants coverage of multiple dimensions and multiple points, as many as you can, all right? So please don't try to elaborate something for too long. The problem is most people who, especially who write in paragraphs, have a tendency to write a very big paragraph on one point. They will keep elaborating it. For example, it's not required. The examiner has understood you know this one point. Now he's looking for fresher ideas, all right? And time management. How much can I emphasize on this? Time management in UPSC is done on 3 scales. It's done at 3 levels. First is obviously in the examination, how you are managing those 3 hours, okay? How you are managing those 3 hours is something, 1, you will learn with practice, and 2 is something that you have to build your own strategy around. For example, if I come to sit in the examination hall, okay, I have just come and the examination has just started. Do I take the first 2 minutes to simply skim through the paper, analyze the questions which I know very well? This is what we do naturally. It is very difficult to just start from first one. Okay, everybody is too curious to look at the paper, so we all just go through the pages. Kya question hai, kya question hai, kya question hai, how much do I know? Okay, you want to assess it in the first go. But when you are doing this assessment, don't just do it mentally and make a rough map. Physically identify these questions, that these are the 5 questions in this paper I know very well, I have prepared very well. This is closest to my preparation. If you want, attempt them first, okay? That gives you a boost of confidence. That gives you a boost of morale that yes, I have done my best already, okay? Then move to category B of questions. That okay, these are the questions I have some idea about. Maybe I might be lagging some 1 or 2 points, but never mind. I can still manage. And then in the end, keep the questions which will definitely, most definitely be there in the examination, which you will have no idea about. Then think about that, provided time and space permits, time permits. All right, so if that initial glance that you are taking at the paper, that should be utilized for some productive output. And the output is identifying A, B, and C category of questions. I'll just take your questions, okay? The other aspect of time management in UPSC is the annual time management. How you are managing your annual cycle. This is an annual exam. It takes place once a year. You have 1 year to prepare, okay? In that 1 year, you have to prepare for 12 to 13 odd subjects. Ancient, medieval, culture, modern, geography, polity, environment, etc., etc. It comes out to around 12 to 13 subjects, okay? You have to prepare for prelims, okay? And if you do get through prelims, you have to prepare for mains and then interview. The moment you are preparing for interview, most of the people fall in this trap. They stop preparing for prelims. They just focus entirely on interview, okay? And they feel that, yes, I'm very close to cracking the exam, and now I don't want to focus on prelims. But fortunately or unfortunately, the nature of the examination is such that when you get your result, maybe just another 10 days or 15 days down the line is the next prelims. And God forbid, I have seen cases firsthand where they have not received positive results and are back to square one the next year. It's a very sad feeling, okay? I don't wish it on anyone, but you have to understand that your notes have to be ready. Your notes have to be ready. So even if you come into that situation, those 10 days, you can go back to your notes and still feel as confident. You can still feel as strong about your preparation as you did the first time. All right? So notes is the main thing of this examination. The correct notes, the correct strategy. So your annual plan has to be done in this manner. Let's say, for example, those of you who are appearing this year, the exam is on 26th May. Okay? These 3-4 months, you will dedicate 100% to prelims. 100% to prelims. If you think your preparation is on track, you are still doing well, you can devote about 20% of your time, let's say, to answer writing or maybe revising your optional. It's your choice. But 80% of the time still should be devoted to prelims. After this, your time should be devoted to mains. Those of you who are appearing next year, you must understand that how the cycle works. If you have to appear for prelims the next year for the first time, but now is the time when you start building your mains, okay? You start practice answer writing, because by the time you come near to the end of this year, you will again get into the prelims mindset. So now is the time you finish your optional, okay? You make sure your optional is on track. You practice your mains questions, you practice answer writing, you do your mains preparation, look at the syllabus of mains, identify the topics, identify which topic has to be done from which source. Just do this base work. Because this base work, if you do later, you will already feel pressure. Have this base work ready that, for example, if there is a topic of internal security in GS paper 3, I am going to refer to these 2 or 3 sources. Alright? And stick to that. Alright? So once you have identified, then when you are, as and when you are going along, maybe you are writing a test or something, you just refer to those sources and do that thing. Then towards the end of this year, start getting prepared for prelims, so that your prelims does not stop. That is very important, because if your prelims doesn't work, then everything goes for a toss. Alright? So time management on an annual basis, you have to have an annual plan. Is mahine ye karna hai, is mahine ye karna hai. Alright? And finally, daily. A daily timetable, तो बचपन से स्कूल में भी सिखाते आ रहे हैं, right? Okay, early to bed, early to rise, and all those things. A daily timetable will help you achieve the annual timetable. If you don't have a daily timetable, you will never be able to achieve an annual timetable. Okay, so your daily targets should be achieved. I read a quote recently somewhere and I really liked it, and it said that the key to success is not discipline and consistency. This was very contrary to what we already hear, right? The key to success is not discipline and consistency, it is adaptability. And what does that mean? For example, on some days, let's say like today, you're all here in a session, and maybe you've spent a considerable amount of time here, okay? And you could not achieve your daily target, whatever you had thought you had to do. But adaptability means you go home, you don't cover as much as you had thought, but still you open your book, you still show up, and you still cover some part of it, and then maybe leave the rest. As opposed to completely leaving it, कि कोई नहीं बाद में देखेंगे. The key to success is adaptability. You show up, you continue showing up day after day. Don't try to achieve perfection, try to achieve consistency. If consistency is there, perfection and everything starts coming on its own. The problem is with consistency. We try to do everything with perfection. कि आज तो 5 घंटे पढ़ लिया, wow. Alright? That should not be the case. तुम 2 घंटे पढ़ो, but रोज पढ़ो. That is more effective. That is more required for this examination. Okay? And how do you want to enjoy your preparation? I told you, this preparation has to be enjoyed. If you enjoy it, you will definitely succeed. And how do you enjoy your preparation? Basic sources रखने हैं. बहुत एक्स्ट्रा रीडिंग नहीं करनी है, बहुत फालतू चीज़ें नहीं पढ़नी है. Standard sources, keep a list of books that you will revise and re-revise. That's all. No matter which topper's talk you listen to, no matter which topper you talk to, they will always tell you that I had a set of sources for every subject and I just revised and revised and revised that. That is all that is required. Okay? And slow and steady wins the race. So set realistic goals. Keep your goals simple. Realistic goals rakho. Don't try to overestimate yourselves. Have realistic goals about yourself that yes, this I will study. Let's say I will study about 10 pages from this book today. Have realistic goals and achieve them. Don't make overhyped goals and not achieve them. It is better to have realistic goals, easier goals and achieve them, as opposed to having too many high goals and not achieving them. Okay? Self-assessment. You can only improve what you can measure. If you don't measure what you're doing, you will never know whether you're improving or not. So tests, test series, okay? This is the only way you can measure yourself in a true, simulate yourselves in an examination-like condition. All right. And finally, take it easy, enjoy your preparation, but be sincere. Okay, just take it easy. You have seen the answer copies of toppers. There is nothing in those answers which you think is out of the world. There is no rocket science. It's simple, consistent effort throughout the paper. That's all that is required. Okay, and finally, travel, enjoy, be happy, and enjoy your preparation. All right. Okay, let's take some questions.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, this is regarding word limit. The space which is provided to us in the answer sheet, if I utilize it with productive information which is supposed to be done, should I bother about the word limit?
If you are utilizing the space nicely and if you are able to write all the points, don't think too much about the word limit. You will automatically adhere to the word limit. But yes, don't try to write too much about one thing and then missing out on other points. Okay, the answer should be fresh. But yes, sticking to word limit is definitely important.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am,
Please raise your hand. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Ma'am, in IR, fourth point.
Yeah, please ask your question.
Ma'am, IR mein you said views of diplomats and heads of states.
Yes.
So we should mention the names of our external affairs or whatever they are saying. We should mention their names, or we can only write ki they had said that names.
It's okay. You can mention the name. You can write the incumbent External Affairs Minister S. J. Shankar or Mr. S. J. Shankar. You can write like that. Or you can write the External Affairs Minister of India. You can write like that also. It's okay.
And only positive points, whatever.
Yes.
They are stating.
Positive in the sense you should quote something which is in national interest. Okay? Not controversial statements. Something which is in national interest, definitely you can quote.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Ma'am, do they give extra time to read the question paper in mains? Like we used to get in our boards exam?
Yeah, I told you, right? So when you get the question paper, take 2 minutes, identify the questions that you know for sure, right? And attempt those questions first.
No, I'm asking if they provide extra time, like 10 minutes or 15
They will
minutes.
not provide you any extra time, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
UPSC is ruthless that way. In fact, they will take some time making you write answer and sign on some sheets, and then something or the other will happen. You cannot guarantee the centers, the benches, the quality of benches. I personally myself have given the exam in very hot and bad conditions where the benches were creaking and there was not even water. So please be prepared from all aspects. Okay, you can never guarantee what what happens on the D-day of the examination. You can never guarantee. So you're toughen up.
Hello, ma'am. General abbreviations like INM and COP you mentioned. So can we use most of them like that?
If they are very general, like for example SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, you can mention. But if something is too obscure, it's better to put it in one, like in a bracket at the start of your answer, and then you can casually go on using the abbreviation in the answer.
Ma'am, one more question. Like you mentioned, we have to cover multiple dimensions.
Yeah.
But sometimes the priority of the points is also important. Like
yes, absolutely.
So the placement matter.
Absolutely, 100% the placement matters. It matters the most. So for example, if I ask you a question about vector-borne diseases in India, what are vector-borne diseases? Diseases that are caused by some, let's say, mosquito or something, right? Those are vector-borne diseases. I will expect any person to write dengue, malaria or chikungunya in the first or 2 or 3 points. If you are writing about something very obscure, okay, let's say you are talking about something very obscure which India mein hai bhi nahi, then I will not be happy with your answer. It matters the most. This thing matters the most in answer writing. The relevant points have to come first, and then you can talk about all the other things. Okay, the positioning also matters.
Ma'am, revision process.
Revision process. The better the notes, the easier the revision, the more revision you will do. The worse the notes, जितने उसको verbose बनाओगे, जितना लंबे चौड़े sentences लिखोगे अपने notes में, you will not feel like reading it again. Okay, make your notes crisp and simple. You yourself will want to revise it because तुम्हें खुद को confidence आएगा हाँ ये तो मुझे आता है, I can do this.
Ma'am, since the syllabus is humongous and also there's a time restraint in the examination, how could we recollect those points? Because the nature of every question differs. Like there are multiple questions given, how could we recollect? And
This
then
is the toughest thing to do. You know, she's asked a very pertinent question. She says, 20 questions, there are 20 questions, let's say, in the exam. And for every question, the topic is totally different and you have to recollect it. Mind you, it is even tougher than this. Why is it even tougher than this? Have you seen the schedule of the paper, mains? On one fine day, you go and write the essay paper from 9 to 12. You go home, the very next day morning, you come again. 9 to 12, you write GS paper 1. You take a 2-hour break, 12 to 2, in which you are eating also, you are coming out of the center, you are going back into the center also, all included. Then again from 2 to 5, you are writing GS paper 2. The very next day again, you go home, you wake up, and then again you are writing from 9 to 12, you are writing GS paper 3, and 2 to 5, you are writing GS paper 4. So it is not just 20 points, that 20 topics that you are remembering a whole lot of topics, the entire year's preparation, everything you are recollecting that in a span of 48 or 76 hours. Please understand that this is one of the toughest examinations and this can only be done when your notes are crisp and concise. What did I tell you? The moment you're entering the examination hall, you should just be able to flip the pages and recollect everything. It should be that easy. It should be that simple. Then only you will be able to target the entire syllabus. If you write natural farming pe itna bada sentences the way you were doing in note making, you think you will hardly be able to revise more than one page before entering the hall. Keep your notes simple, easy and short. Revise more topics. Okay? Yeah, any other question? Yeah.
Ma'am, as you said, you prepared for UPSC.
Yeah, I did.
So, how you deal with like mental disturbance and underconfidence?
There's no way to deal with it. Do
like,
whatever. There is sweat, blood, tears, everything that goes into the preparation of this examination, everything. And if you're giving all attempts, then definitely, most definitely. But this is the beauty of this examination because every year it feels like a challenge. इस साल क्या पूछेगा UPSC? You know, you have that kind of fire in you. यार अब ये news में आ रहा है, ये देखना पक्का question होगा. You start treating it like a game. You start treating the process like a game. You start enjoying it. You start anticipating questions. Yeah, this could be a question. ये issue news में है तो UPSC ऐसे पूछ सकता है. It kind of becomes like a, a game and, something which you enjoy. This is why I put this, thing always. Enjoy your preparation. If you enjoy your preparation, it will not really feel like a burden. It will feel like, okay, by the way, जब होता जा रहा है, you're just in the process. Otherwise, you can't sustain. You can't survive.
मैम जैसे अभी आपने को मैरिज वाला जो क्वेश्चन था,
हाँ.
तो उसको अगर मैं इंडिया को किसी दूसरी कंट्री से कंपेयर कर रहा हूँ, जैसे मैं वेस्टर्न कल्चर से कंपेयर कर रहा हूँ,
okay.
तो
इन द कंटेक्स्ट ऑफ मैरिज,
यस मैम, तो मैम मैं इंडिया को कहीं ना कहीं ग्लोरीफाई करूँगा क्योंकि मुझे उसके बारे में बताना है. तो अगर मैं दूसरे कल्चर को या किसी कंट्री के कुछ नेगेटिव पॉइंट्स बता रहा हूँ, वो कहीं ना कहीं थोड़े मे बी एक मेरा
yes you can, but again the language matters. You can say that let's say the divorce rates is higher. ठीक है, आप ये नहीं बोलोगे कि वहाँ के लोगों को कोई परवाह ही नहीं है शादी की. You will not say that there is more infidelity there. The language has to be correct. If you are saying the fact that Western culture is not as, committed or probably divorce rate, then you can say that the divorce rate in India is much lesser and substantiate it with points, with data. So you're not wrong. Nobody can question that.
Ma'am, what would be the reasons?
And sorry, just one point to that. Whenever you're comparing India with other countries, especially in such matters, नंबर्स एब्सोल्यूट नंबर्स को मत कंपेयर करना. हमारी पॉपुलेशन इतनी है कि अगर हम अपना 0.1% भी बोलते हैं ना तो एब्सोल्यूट नंबर्स लुक इन्फ्लेटेड. ऑलवेज कंपेयर द परसेंटेज. सो द परसेंटेज ऑफ लेट्स से डिवोर्स रेट इन इंडिया वर्सेज परसेंटेज इन दैट. डोंट कंपेयर द एब्सोल्यूट नंबर्स. ऑलराइट? या
मैम, how to develop the skills like understanding question in the right way?
Understanding question in the right way. Reread the question. Reread the question, understand, highlight its key important aspects. If you see all the toppers, they have underlined कि ये क्या बोलना चाह रहा है, you know, what is the keyword? Identify the keywords in the question. That what is it trying to say? For example, do you think marriage as a sacrament is losing its value? So first is, do you think? That means your opinion is being asked. Then marriage as a sacrament is losing its value. Is it losing its value? So marriage losing its value. Then you talk about marriage as an institution. Okay, so the concept of marriage has to be discussed.
Ma'am.
Yeah, this comes with practice. This comes with practice. In all honesty, this will come with practice.
Ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, can we also add some quote in our conclusion for a...
Absolutely. Please feel free to. Please feel free to. Ishita has, in many of her answers, she has included this quote of some, you know, I think Bharat ka something. There is something quote which she writes in most of her answers I have seen. So yes, please feel free to use quotes, but don't overdo it. Please don't write quote in every answer, okay? That will make the examiner a little bored also.
Ma'am, for example, if we talk about preamble,
yeah.
Bhargavadas Thakur said soul of Indian Constitution.
Absolutely.
Can we also add these in?
Absolutely, you can include it in the conclusion. You can also include it in the introduction, provided the question is being asked in this context. So the question should be asking you the importance of preamble in the context of Constitution. Then you can say yes, preamble is the soul, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Ma'am, if I have not read any subject before, or I am not interested in that subject, then how can prepare like polity?
If you're not interested in a subject but you still have to prepare it, please understand that there are certain subjects which are low-hanging fruits. For example, polity. I will not entirely, but most, especially from prelims point of view, polity has some questions which are direct. आपको पता है there are 1 or 2 standard sources, you just have to revise them over and over again and you will be able to solve at least 50 to 60% questions in that subject. So force yourself to study, okay? Try and understand it from governance point of view, and if nothing works, if no motivation works, try to see yourself as a future administrator and then understand the importance of that.
Ma'am, but about men's answer writing in polity?
Mains answer writing, again you have to do that with practice. You have to pick the correct keywords, what are there in the book. So for example, if there is a question on preamble, let's say. So like he said, preamble is the soul of the Constitution, okay? It gives an insight into the minds and makers of the Constitution. Then what are the key features? Everything has to be done under subheadings. We did natural farming, we did natural farming definition, what are its advantages, what are its challenges. Similarly, in polity, you just do everything under subheads. Like, this is preamble, this is the role of the preamble, this is what the preamble tells us. For example, it tells us that we have given a constitution to ourselves. These are the salient features of our constitution. Okay? And then what does the preamble tell us? It tells us about the date of adoption. So all these things, you have to do it under subheads. Okay? That is how toppers do. They just structure their preparation, structure their notes, everything is structured in their minds, and that is how it is replicated in the examination. Always remember this analogy that when you're constructing a building, please pehle framework banao. Okay, have the structure in your mind first and then fill in the details. Okay, any other question? I wish you have a question? Okay. Any other question apart from her? We can hand over the mic, yeah.
Ma'am, while quoting the things, whether in, may it be in introduction or conclusion, can we quote the things of different languages like Sanskrit shloka?
Absolutely,
or
you can.
vachanas? Or
you
something?
can do that. You can definitely, most definitely do that. But again, don't overdo it.
Yes,
where
ma'am.
it is relevant, where it is making sense, you can do it.
In the same language, if we write it, is it okay, or we need to write it in the translated form?
You can write it in the same language. You can even write it in the script, Roman script also. People have done that also. That's also acceptable.
Script is also
Script is also.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I wish you all the very best. One more question? Okay. And then I'll wish you best.
Ma'am, what about essay writing?
Essay writing is a totally different ball game altogether. We'll probably have another session scheduled for that. Okay? Yeah.
Ma'am, one question.
Yeah.
Ma'am, regarding notes making, at initial phase, we have started as the main perspective of notes making. So would not be it good if we finish once the whole...
Yes, first finish your readings, understand ki syllabus mein kya hai.
Yes,
okay? Then you get down in your second or third reading.
For
prepare
revision
them.
purpose.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Never make notes in the first reading. Never. So we come to an end and conclusion of the class. Thank you very much. Thank you all for your time.